Hey folks, this is Jake Davis with some old school wrestling for you tonight. Today I decided to talk, this month I decided to talk about Halloween Havoc 1997, 25 years ago. Granted, I probably should have talked about Bad Blood instead from a week earlier. Um, More iconic main event, debut of the Hell in a Cell, debut of Kane, but Halloween Havoc's so fun. It's just even when the shows are terrible, which they usually were, the aesthetic of it is so gnarly. So, Halloween Havoc 1997 was held on October 6th in the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada, in front of about 12,000 people. Our commentary team are Tony Schiavone, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, baby. For first three matches, we also get guest commentary from the Professor Iron Mike Snake, considering these are cruiserweight bouts. Opening match is a grudge match: Ultimo Dragon versus Yuji Nagata, with Sonny Ono as corner. Sonny Ono, the inventor of the selfie. The whole story here is Sonny was Dragon's manager. Dragon has been kind of going through Sonny's hired goons and Nagata's nets to block. It's a really good opening match, of course. Story here is Nagata, Sonny Ono constantly interfering, Nagata focusing on the arm, and Dragon not being able to get in the Dragon Sleeper because of his injured arm. Eventually he goes for it one time too many, using the guys able to reverse him into an armbar and get the submission victory. This is a very good match. Problem here was, not really a problem with this match at all, but it reminded me that Yuji Nagata was kind of totally wasted in WCW. He was so good. He was so awesome. Had a brutal style, an awesome finisher. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was his only. I might be wrong, but I think this was like his only, or one of his only, one-on-one pay-per-view victories. I think pretty soon after this, they had him jobbing to like fucking Prince Ikea or some shit. Our next match is Ultimo Dragon. Chris Jericho taking on Ghetto. These guys have had matches in Japan over the years, and was kind of an unpromoted match, and is one of the more memorable matches from the show for all the wrong reasons. Famously, Jericho goes for both men standing, not perched, standing on the top turnbuckle. Jericho starts to fall backwards too soon, loses his balance, goes for a Hurricane Rana anyways. Like, barely gets enough rotation just to avoid breaking his fucking neck. It's terrifying. It's a terrifying botch to look at. Jericho wins by eventually locking in the walls of the Lion Tamer and getting a submission. Has a bloody nose after the match, probably from the fall. But yeah, he's lucky he wasn't horrifically injured in this match. Up next is our Cruiserweight Championship. Title versus mask, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio Jr. This is probably the best, at least considered, the best match in WCW history. In-ring wise, sure. Personally, on a personal level, I get a little bit more nostalgic for Goldberg and Page a year later. Also, coincidentally, at Halloween Havoc in the MGM Grand. Look, man, if you've never seen this match, it's only about 16 minutes long. You should, and you're a wrestling fan, you owe it to yourself. Take 20 minutes, 30 minutes out of your day, go on Peacock, go on the network, hunt it down, get to it, and just watch this match. This is something really, really impressive. Of course, the most iconic spot of the whole thing, Ray springboards to the top onto the top rope, does a backflip, and catches Eddie in a DDT on the way down. Gorgeous. Lots of awesome stuff here. Lots of brutal mind game shit. Eddie constantly ripping at Ray's mask and talking shit to him. Eventually, Eddie goes for a powerbomb off the top rope. Ray reverses it into a Hurricane Rana, catches Eddie in the pin, and is the new Cruiserweight champion, and more importantly, saves his mask. For the time being, Ray would eventually lose a mask match to the Outsiders at Super Brawl 1999. About a year and a half or so, or less, after this. A lot of people, I mean, it's like people, it wouldn't be till the summer of 2002. So Rey Mysterio went without a mask for like 3.5 years, and people just ignore that fact. And people seem to have completely forgotten that he spent about a 10-month period as a heel in the Filthy Animals during that time. Yeah, Rey Mysterio without a mask and as a bad guy. There's a reason no one talks about it. There's a good reason no one talks about it. Because it should have never happened, frankly. But anyways, yes, 5-star match, one of the greatest matches WCW ever did. You can make an argument, might be the best match either one of these guys ever had. It's definitely a contender for both dudes. Up next is when we get a bit of chicanery. I'm just going to talk about it here. We see a pre-recorded bit of Hogan and Bischoff backstage claiming unsafe working environments. Sting's got his title match at Starrcade. His match at Hogan at Starrcade. There's no reason to interfere. And if WCW cannot guarantee a safe, Stingless work environment for the main event, he will not compete in the cage match against Piper. Okay. Of course, a little bit later in the night, J.J. Dillon comes out, tosses the Mean Gene, saying Hogan signed the contract. Hogan's in the building. Hogan's wrestling the match. He has no choice. He has to work the match. And Bischoff tries to weasel around. Well, Sting interferes. We get control of Nitro, which goes nowhere. It was really a whole segment that didn't need to happen. We get next up is Mongo versus Alex Wright. Alex Wright has Deborah McMichael in his corner because the story here was that Mongo was supposed to fight Jeff Jarrett, who had been getting between Mongo and his wife for months, building up to this 4 months. And when I say months, I mean for like damn near a fucking year. They were building up to this shit. And then like right before the pay-per-view, Jeff Jarrett quits and goes to WWF, where he would not have a first few months. It wouldn't be until he lost his hair match to X-Pac at SummerSlam 99, 98. He started to get something fresh as a character. But yeah, Alex Wright and Mongo McMichael is absolutely a heatless story. I mean, at least it's the shortest match of the show. There's something else that should have been shorter, but this match only goes like 6 minutes, but 6 boring minutes. And after those 3 excellent cruiserweight matches, it just takes the life out of the show, and it takes a while for it to get better. Finishes, Goldberg comes in, referee's distracted. I mean, like, it was one of those painful, has to force himself not to look at the interference. But Goldberg spears, jackhammers Mongo, puts Alex Wright on top. Wright wins. Then Wright gets a spear and jackhammer, and Deborah pays Goldberg for his services with Mongo's Super Bowl ring. This would set up a feud that would lead to Starrcade between Mongo and Goldberg, where people just would not boo Goldberg. Pause this real fast. Up next is an intergender match with Jacqueline taking on the Disco Inferno. A lot of shady shit went down for this match. This match was supposed to happen months earlier. Disco didn't want to wrestle a woman. He didn't want to lose to a woman either. Started talking about getting out of his contract, going to WWE. They even kind of had this angle in place where he was going to, go under the Honky Tonk Man's tutelage. This was all set up and ready for him, apparently. Rumor has it. And he renewed his contract, decided not to go to WWF, and then right away, Bischoff's like, okay, now you have to fight the woman, and you're gonna lose, or you're gonna be fired. Now that you've, turned down that job over there. It was shady, it was fucked up. But Disco was the TV champ at the time. He had the same belt that guys like Chris Jericho, Arn Anderson, Booker T, and Dusty Rhodes held. It made him important. DDP! Damn, man. I think both Steiners were TV champion. And damn, man. So, Disco's TV champ, and he's scared of the woman. It's a lot of him just dodging, killing time, pandering. Eventually, she gets him to schoolboy and rolls him up. The fact that this went longer than the right Mongo match was painful, but these 2 matches back to back really hurt this show. Really fucking hurt this show. Now up next is our U.S. title match. Kurt Hennig defending against Ric Flair. And talk about pure grudge match here. Ric Flair hits the ring, no big pomp and circumstance. Different guy, but no big pageantry, you know what I mean? He runs straight to the ring, drops the rope, starts slugging with Kurt Hennig. They're just brawling all over the place. Kurt Hennig joined the figure four and straight the Horseman and slammed Flair's head into a steel cage door at the last pay-per-view. So these guys are just going to beat the shit out of each other. Ric Flair eventually can't control his emotions, puts Hennig in the Tree of Woe, puts the belt on top of his face, and stomps it. Hennig retains the title by a disqualification. After the match, the referees are trying to stop Hennig, Flair from beating the shit out of Hennig. They get thrown around and slapped around. Eventually, Conan and Vincent of the NWO come out and they help Hennig get the hell out of there. This would lead to a no DQ rematch at World War III, and was planned to have a steel cage blow off match at Starrcade, which never happened. Hennig would instead end up dropping the title to DDP at Starrcade. DDP finally becoming U.S. champion. A silver lining there. And Flair would end up sitting the show out entirely. Wouldn't see him until sold out when he would fight Bret Hart. Up next is a grudge match. We have Scott Hall taking on Lex Luger with Larry Zbyszko as a special guest referee. This was kind of... The story here more was between Larry and Scott. Larry won a match with Scott Hall, which wouldn't happen until sold out. Another match I've talked about before. And Luger's just been fighting Scott Hall again and again and again on TV, and it's always in a disqualification. So now be sure to be a winner. There's lots of chicanery here. Typical NWO interference, mainly from Bischoff this time. Who was it? Vincent who kept interfering too, I think. Eventually, there's enough of distraction. Scott Hall hits the Razor's Edge, gets the win, but Zbyszko wants to see the replay. He sees the interference, demands the match to restart. Scott Hall's run back to the ring while he's getting counted out. Bischoff's throwing a tantrum on the walkway. Scott Hall gets in Zbyszko's face. Zbyszko shoves him back when he stumbles right back into the torture rack and taps out. Luger wins. I thought it was fucked up to have Luger win this match, because the whole story here is Lex Luger has kicked Scott Hall's ass again and again and again and again. But now he needs a restart, and Hall who's not paying attention to I thought it made your babyface look weak, which really sucks, because this was one of the rare situations of somebody getting a pinfall or submission victory over the NWO on fucking pay-per-view. It seemed fucking rare. It was really rare on Raw or Nitro. Nitro, but eventually Thunder. Alright. Semi-main event. The Sudden Death Las Vegas Sudden Death match. The Macho Man Randy Savage with Miss Elizabeth taking on Diamond Dallas Page. Now, of course, this is just a last man standing match before they were calling them those. Amazing Page was also involved in the first non-official triple threat match. You would call them triple threat matches in WWE in 97, but the real style of what became the triple threat match. Three men, tornado rules, sudden death, anything goes. That style was perfected with a match between DDP, Chris Benoit, and Raven at the following March's pay-per-view Uncensored. This match was great. These guys had no exaggeration, the feud of the year. It won an award for feud of the year. It was the feud of the year. DDP all started when DDP was attacked, and Kimberly were both attacked by Savage and Elizabeth at Uncensored. They had a main event grudge match at Page 1 at Spring Stampede. They had a street fight rematch at the Great American Bash. There was DDP attacking Savage dressed as La Parka. There were tag team matches at like the Bash at the Beach and Fall Brawl and Clash of the Champions. It's finally 7-month rivalry has come to this. Last man standing in Vegas. Elizabeth constantly interfering breaks fucking. I can't remember what they called it, but to me it looked like a fucking microwave plate over the ref's head while he's counting. Kimberly comes out, drags the bitch off by her hair to a huge pop. Savage hits a diving elbow, but Paige gets up. Paige hits the diamond cutter, but Savage gets up. Savage hits a low blow. Paige falls to the ring, but then Hogan dressed as Sting comes running out and whacks him one good time in the ribs with a bat. Paige cannot get to his feet again. Randy Savage wins. The opening cruiserweight matches, all three of them, but especially Eddie and Mysterio, are so fucking good. I think a lot of people forget and overlook this excellent blow-off match. The setting, the stipulation, the feud, both guys are in like prime gear, you know what I mean? DDP with his almost poker coat he would wear sometimes, the gray and blue one, light blue, and Savage with the lightning going all through his gear. It was really both. This is a great match. I mean, everything about it. It's a fucking excellent match. And now it's time for the main event. Give me a second. Main event time. Roddy Piper's WCW Commissioner versus the World Heavyweight Champion, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, all up inside the steel cage. Now, of course, this isn't a world title match. Because why? Why would your one-on-one steel cage pay-per-view main event not be for the champion's title? Seriously. What are they thinking? Anyhow, this is just a look. I have nothing against Piper or Hogan. I admire and love both guys. As far as what Hogan's contributions to the business and stuff like that, Hulk Hogan as a person, even before Hogan knows best and stuff like that, could always kind of get the feeling this guy's kind of a real life piece of shit, isn't he? Piper is a fascinating figure in real life. I think they want to make him the TV show about Hulk Hogan and a TV show about Vince McMahon. Make a fucking movie about Roddy Piper. That's an interesting story. Anyhow, and look, they had a great feud in the 80s, but in the mid-90s, Hogan couldn't be asked to work, and Roddy just couldn't go like he used to. So these matches, where all three of them were disappointing, not very good, and hyped to hell. And then there's the actual match itself. The cage is huge, surrounds the whole ringside, but it's taller than the Hell in a Cell, but there's no ceiling. And it also doesn't look as sturdy. The commentators don't know what the rules are. The wrestlers don't know what the rules are. The fucking ref doesn't know what the rules are. They're talking about it's the first man to escape. But then both guys escape, and the match keeps going. Well, okay, it's pinfall or submission, but the referee's not counting pinfalls or submissions. Eventually, Hogan hits a leg drop, and now the referee's going to try to count. Piper gets a sleeper. Hogan passes out. Piper wins. After the match, the NWO hit the ring. There's a couple of fake stings. There's a clear plant pretending to be a fan jumping into the ring and get beat up by the NWO. The most memorable part of the whole match is Savage climbing the cage, jumps off the cage into the ring to clobber Piper, but Hogan's supposed to move. He's supposed to get Hogan. Hogan takes none of it, and the Savage lands just crumbles when he hits the bat, man. Look, Savage would leave the company around July of the next year, maybe June of the next year. And when he did come back in 1999, he wasn't the same. He just didn't wrestle the same. I know there was years of wear and tear on his body. I know he was getting up in there in his age. But I have always truly believed that Hogan, what's the equivalent of sandbagging when you just aren't there to catch the guy on purpose? But Hogan doing that to Savage, I believe, fucking accelerated at the end of Savage's career. And that's a little moment that's always kind of pissed me off about this match. The match overall is terrible. It's absolute trash. And as much as I've always heard people talk about and bitch about this match, I don't think I've ever heard anyone else point out that there's no bell. There's no opening bell. There's no closing bell. There's no bell to this match. It's just weird as shit to me. The fucking Firefly Funhouse had a bell. It didn't have a spot, but it had a bell. Anyhow, I think Halloween Havoc 97 is usually considered the best of Halloween Havocs. I understand why people don't like 98. It's a mess. But fair this, we have two really boring bad matches in the mid-card and a terrible main event. But the truth is, the rest of the show is really fucking fun, and at least two matches are absolutely great. And one of those matches is maybe the best the company ever put on. So, that being said, I would give Halloween Havoc a B. Not a B+, just a B. This is a show that isn't phenomenal or even exceptional, but it is a must-see for its place in wrestling history. And it's not like it's something you have to struggle to get through. Anyhow, hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm Jake Davis. I'll catch you on the fly.